The House.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Chairman, I rise to take a call, but I was at the moment engrossed in this incredibly exciting newspaper article which aptly sums up the budget as a big fat zero. But moving on, Mr Chairman, this is about this bill. Now, this bill vests part of the budget in legislation. Mr Chairman, as we have discussed earlier and throughout this debate, the first question which must be asked again in the House is, why are we being forced to do this under urgency today? Because the fundamentals are there is a deep paradox at play. The government has said it is going to seek a mandate from the public on the changes proposed in this bill. It said it is going to go to election 2011, in which case it should have gone into budget 2012 once a mandate had been obtained. If it did not, sir, it either is the case that they have an unmandated piece of legislation and therefore fiscal consequences, or they have broken an election promise. It can only logically be one of those alternatives. Now, the Treasury has signed off on this, so I assume that means the Treasury's view is that this is not unconstitutional and not unmandated. It must therefore logically be the case that Treasury believes the government has broken a major election promise, if not one, then several. They said they would not cut KiwiSaver, and this bill cuts it. They said they would not cut working for families, and this bill cuts it. Well, Mr Speaker, most people I talk to are struggling. They are struggling as prices rise faster than wages. They're working hard, they're doing everything right, but they just can't seem to get ahead. And every week I hear stories in my electorate of people who week after week are cutting back just to put food on the table or to pay the power bill. National's third budgets should have addressed this, but unfortunately it makes the struggle that much tougher. It doesn't hurt, it doesn't help, but it does hurt. It's a tinkering budget that does not have a plan to get the economy going again. It doesn't address the problems that are at the core of this moribund economy that have undermined our chances of putting people back to work. Mr Chairman, the best way to get a deficit down is to get the economy growing again. Labor will be continuing to outline our plan to get the economy going over the next few months. We will present a credible strategy for rebuilding the New Zealand economy with a fully costed package of measures. Mr Chairman, there is no doubt that we need to be saving more as a country. There is no doubt that the intention of building up national savings is worthy. But there is also no doubt that reducing the incentives available to New Zealanders to get them into the program while simultaneously taxing the employer contribution before it benefits the employee is not the best way to do that. So, Mr Chairman, Mr Speaker, you can expect that the Labor opposition will be bringing to the public a better plan for increasing national savings to the benefit not only of those savings but of all New Zealanders. Mr Chairman, selling assets is just as short-sighted. This bill contains the tax rates which are predicated on a fiscal balance. That fiscal balance is supported here by the illusion of capital flows that should not yet exist. There is no mandate for asset sales. All the polling tells us New Zealanders hate the idea of the so-called mixed ownership model, which makes people pay twice for things they already own. Things they already own. Every New Zealander owns Mighty River Power, Meridian Energy, Genesis Energy, and 80% of Air New Zealand. They own them already. They don't need to buy them twice. And of course what will happen is that most of those shareholdings will pass to the control of foreign multinational corporations, thereby undermining the economic sovereignty of this country. And that might be less awful if it solved the problem, but it does not. It's like taking a teacup full of water and throwing it on a raging bushfire. Except in this case, there's nothing raging about the New Zealand economy. It's raging nowhere, Mr Speaker. And just as importantly, this does not, therefore, solve our debt problem. What will the government do when debt increases further and there are no assets left to sell, Mr. Speaker? This is not a plan, sir, that will grow our economy. There is nothing in this bill, there is nothing in the regulatory impact statement, there is nothing in the budget that shows a plan to create jobs and growth. There is a rosy glow forecast of 4% growth in 2012, sir, 2012-13, that nobody believes. Nobody believes. The rating agencies patently don't believe it because this government has just got a C- or a D from Standard & Poor's, which is, we'll believe it when we see it. And increasingly that is now the view of the mainstream media, who are questioning the flimsy thread of credibility upon which this budget hangs. They don't believe that it's right there should be $1 billion of unspecified cuts. They don't believe it's right there should be $4 billion of difference in cash flow between the IRD and the Treasury. They don't believe it's right to raid the piggy bank of public servants by $650 million in their retirement fund. And they don't believe that it is right to take more out of the KiwiSaver of teachers than we're putting back into early childhood education. None of that is right, sir. None of it shows any vision. None of it shows any boldness. None of it shows any plan. Mr. Speaker, New Zealanders are hungering and thirsting for a way out of the economic wilderness. And they've been waiting, sir, for 3 budgets now for a credible plan to get them there. It wasn't the Job Summit. It wasn't the Cycleway. It wasn't the rolling mall of tinkerers. It wasn't suspending payments to the super fund. It wasn't huge tax breaks for upper income earners. And it isn't cutting KiwiSaver and working for families and flogging off assets, because that's all this budget does. All this budget does. So the crime of this budget, sir, is not only what it does do, not only the measures that attack KiwiSaver and working for families that are in this bill, but it's what it does not do. It does not provide hope. It does not provide vision. It does not provide a plan. And it does not provide a way out of the fiscal nightmare that this Conservative government has wrought upon New Zealand. And they will tell you that it's Labour's fault when it is not, because Labour left the country in surplus to the tune of 7.6% of GDP. They will tell you that it's the earthquake's fault, but it is not, because the earthquake is responsible for only 10% of the accumulated debt, and their economic mismanagement, Mr. Speaker, is 90% along with the global financial crisis. Mr. Speaker, they will tell you that they are being fiscally responsible, and they are not. There is nothing fiscally responsible about making up numbers. There is nothing responsible about $1 billion of cuts where we do not know where they are coming from. There is nothing responsible about imagining 170,000 jobs that do not exist and will not exist, or Standard & Poor's would have taken them at their word. Mr. Speaker, I have given up waiting for Bill English to have a new idea. I've given up waiting for Bill English to get a vision for this economy. And New Zealanders are giving up on this tired, listless, useless national government, and they will be a one-term government, Mr. Speaker. How do I know that? Because the polling is telling us, wait for it, 48% of New Zealanders believe the country's economic management is on the wrong track. 32% believe it's on the right track. And I've been here for 4 terms, and I can tell members opposite, when the economic right track, wrong track numbers cross over, the government's popularity is sure to follow, sir, and they are sure to follow as quickly and as surely as night follows day. They are going to be making the pilgrimage to this side of the House on November the 26th, when the public is called to vote upon this rubbish budget and throw it out.
Craig Foss.
Hopefully there's still a few listeners left on the radio, Mr. Speaker. Well, the third reading of the taxation bill associated